Hello.
Hello. Can you hear
As I
me?
start, yes, I can. As I start coughing and sputtering, first thing,
Well, that's fair.
it's the pollening. Well,
Yeah.
I got sick, and then no, I had a mystery rash, allergic bump thing, and then of course my immune system was weird because of that, and then I got just regular old sick. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I've been experiencing something similar where my voice just started to give out and I started to get like really hoarse over a month ago. And then last week I was helping a friend move and pack up and I think I just stirred up a bunch of dust and then my allergies kicked in because I have like a severe medical allergy to dust.
Oh
So,
no.
I've just been having like sinus issues. So I went and
Yeah.
saw an ENT this morning that I scheduled like last month. And they're telling me like I have some nodes on my throat. They said it's
Mhm.
normal though. They're like really small and
Yeah.
I just need to really rest my voice.
Yeah. Well, doing a
So
podcast is a good thing to. Yeah.
to rest my voice, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a strep test for me, but it was negative. I pretty much you mentioned the word strep and I get it. I haven't had it in a minute, knock on wood, but I have really
Right.
low tonsils, and they always say, "Well, you should get them out." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'd be a lot more popular."
Yeah. I've been wanting to get my tonsils out until my partner last year got his tonsils out and it was a mess. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do it unless it's medically necessary.
Yeah, apparently it's worse getting it done when you're an adult.
hmm Yeah.
So,
Yeah. One of his sutures ruptured and we were in the ER like all day.
nope,
So, yeah. So
no,
he
no,
went through
no.
like a month-long process of it, like scabbing over and
Mm.
just,
Scabbing over
just a
in your
mess.
throat. Ugh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so
It
gross.
was nasty.
Yeah, I think I'll keep my tonsils. Thank you. I'll just get regular steroid injections and amoxicillin, and I'll be fine.
There you go.
I just don't like how steroids make me all like manny. My mom was on them when she was on chemo, and they had her on like something insane, like 3,000 milligrams, and she was the worst. And it's just like steroids
Ugh.
just make you not normal.
Is it the roid rage,
Yeah,
as they
yeah,
say? Mm.
yeah. It's true. And then usually you gain weight, although thankfully I haven't yet. So we'll see.
Is it just like, is it for your throat? Is that what
Um,
it's for?
Yeah, well, they gave it to me because I had bumps like on my entire body, especially on my back. Like there were like
Oh, okay.
hundreds. And they still don't know. They think it was an allergic reaction, but then they checked my lymph nodes and they're like, "Well, they're swollen," and they did a strep test and it was negative. So I don't know, but I mean, drugs and steroids, yay! So I'm on the mend. I don't look like a leper anymore. Did I lose you already? Uh-oh. All right. Gonna
I can hear
Frankenstein.
you. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. I can hear you now.
You know what it was? You mentioned something to me about Power
This
Saver, and I made sure I turned it off, but my screen still went into
Uh-oh.
sleep mode. So I think that's what happened. When my screen went black, that's when you started asking,
Yeah.
"Are you
Yeah,
there?"
that's how, yeah, through trial and error, I figured it out that that does that.
Okay. I'll make sure I keep my screen on.
Okay. Okay. so tell me about well, first of all, what's your Madonna origin story? Like, how did your obsession start?
My obsession started, uh, well, I should say my first introduction to Madonna came through my oldest sister.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she was like all into the whole first album, like a Virgin era, like
Yeah.
bracelets, lace gloves, uh, you know, stockings in her hair.
Mm-hmm.
So, like all of that. So, I was just always aware of the presence of Madonna from the moment she like arrived on the scene.
Right.
And my mom was very adamant about us not listening to her music because it promoted promiscuity or whatever. I just remember when Like a Virgin was out, we weren't supposed to listen to it. Um, all that. A couple
Yeah.
years later, my cousin, who would come down every summer, was really big into the whole True Blue and Who's That Girl Madonna.
Hmm.
And so I had, like Madonna was always there, like the presence was always there. I just wasn't into it. I was just like a child. I was like, I don't know. I can't remember how old I was back then. I should
Yeah.
know. But like
How old are you
I was just
now?
like, I'm 45.
Oh, wow. Samesies.
Cool. We're twins.
Yeah. What
Um,
sign are you?
Cancer.
Okay, I'm an Aquarius.
Ah, okay. Um, my ex was an Aquarius.
Oh, we're good people. I mean, your ex may not be, but I don't know.
Good intended, at least.
Oh,
Maybe.
is that
I'm
why I'm
teasing.
single?
No, I'm
Anyway,
just teasing.
I know.
Yeah, so it was Like a Prayer. Honestly, it was when Like a Prayer came out. The song came
Jesus,
out.
same. Like
Yeah.
I always liked her in secret, and I wasn't allowed to. And like a prayer came out, and I was like, "Fuck this, it's on."
Yeah, I remember the song, and my sister, my older sister, not my eldest sister, who was into her during like the Like a Virgin era.
Hmm.
My older sister and I, she's only a year older than me. We remember like hearing the song on the radio and just like singing along to it, not knowing who sang it, anything
Right.
like that. And then one time we were in the living room and we were just flipping through the channels, and of course going past MTV, and I hear Like a Prayer and I see the image on the screen, and
Hmm.
it was the end of the video. And I remember my sister's friend was there, and she's like, "Oh, it's just Madonna. Let's change this. We're doing something else. Like we're in the middle of an activity or something. I don't know."
That's
But
really.
my mind was like, "Wait, there's no way that's Madonna. She has brown hair. That's not Madonna. That's not what Madonna music sounds like. That's not what we've seen from Madonna. There's no way."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, so it just became like this obsession of mine to continue to watch MTV and VH1 until I saw that video again, so
Yeah.
that I can confirm it for myself. And of course, by watching that, by the time I was, obsessed with trying to catch this video, they were already showing the commercial for the premiere of um, Express Yourself.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this. But it was so weird because whenever I saw the commercial, I thought of Cyndi Lauper because Cyndi Lauper had the song "I Drove All Night," which was then
Oh,
covered by
yeah.
Celine Dion,
Hmm.
um, where she's in the street naked with blonde hair, looking over her shoulder.
Yeah.
So
She's
the
got
image
the,
is, yeah.
yeah,
And so I remember thinking, like, wait, is this Cyndi Lauper or Madonna? Like, I was just, a
yeah.
stupid child. I wasn't like paying attention to what the premiere was. It was just this video, and I just knew I had to record it.
Right.
Um, and so I set my VCR and went back, and I was just like amazed at this video.
Yeah.
This I just couldn't take my eyes off of every scene. And of course, I was a child gay that didn't know they were gay. So I was like, yeah, I really want to watch this video. I need to
Yeah.
rewind and pause a few times during some scenes.
Yeah. I knew
Um,
I knew I was the gay, but I didn't really know how to form, like I didn't know how to label it or really put it into
yeah.
words.
Yeah, and it wasn't like necessarily a sexual thing, right? It was just more of the attraction of what you're attracted to. So
Oh
for
yeah.
me, it was like, yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of shirtless guys, and yes, I'm interested in looking at that. I just didn't know why I
Mhm.
was interested in looking at that.
Right.
Um, until of course, you start going through puberty and everything and really understand why. Uh, but that was the start of it for me, and I became obsessed. And my family didn't understand it. Um, my mom, for my fifth grade graduation, got me the cassette of Like a Prayer.
Mhm.
So from that point on, I was just hooked. It was set, and
Yeah.
there I was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild because like I don't run into too many people who have basically the same origin story because I liked her and I just always paid attention, but I never. It was always closeted. Like my sister had the first two albums, and I'd sneak it. My mom wouldn't let me listen to her. She's like, "Oh, she's a tramp. She's a slut."
Mm-hmm.
And then like Prayer happened, and I saw the video, and like I fell off the couch because I was like enamored, and I was like, "Okay, I need to worship this woman."
Yeah.
And now, cut to me, 45. I have 9 Madonna tattoos, and 3 of them are like a prayer tattoos. That was
I
accidental.
I tried looking through your Instagram and trying to find, because I was listening to one of your other episodes and you had
Uh-huh.
mentioned that,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, what are these tattoos and where do you have them? I saw the one in your finger for the ray of light,
Yeah.
but I did not see the other ones. You'll have to show me the other ones.
I have the like a prayer crown under my ear on like the right side on my neck. I have the portrait where she's got the praying hands, the black and white one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have that on my arm, and then on closer to my like wrist, I have this. It's like a almost Picasso version that I think it was in Rolling Stone when they did the review of like a prayer originally.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's
um,
cool.
yeah, I know I got the Maverick symbol for my first tattoo, and it's not really that great. They didn't do a good job. But when my mom saw the like prayer portrait, she kind of flipped out. She was like, "Oh, I wish she would wake up one day and wouldn't like her anymore." And I'm like, "That's not going to happen." Especially,
My mom was
especially,
very much like that during my teenage years. She
oh
didn't
yeah,
understand why I liked her so much and couldn't, especially, after the sex book came out and erotica came
hmm
out,
hmm
she just couldn't understand. I didn't tell people at school that I was into, some friends knew, of course, but
yeah.
like, y- y- that's something you literally would get beat up for in school
Oh, well,
and
I guess I
where I'm
never thought
from.
about that. I think they all wanted to beat me up because I was gay more so than Madonna thing, but
Well, I think eventually it just leads to that, right? Like,
yeah. But I was very like I'm very pro Madonna. Like everybody knew I was into her. I couldn't get the Blonde Ambition bomber jacket, so I took my jeans jacket and like put the M on it and Sharpie, and I used to have a binder where you could put the pictures on it, and so I
uh-huh.
changed the pictures like every single day.
That's
I used to
awesome.
I'd bring the sex book to school.
What? How
I
did you even get
know.
a copy of the sex book?
Well,
Is my question.
my friend's mom got it for me. I saved up my lunch money for like a month or something like that. And she's like, "Well, I'll buy it for you. You can give me the money, and then my only condition is that I get to see it first." So she was looking at it while we were in the back seat, just like kind of waiting. And then she's like, "Okay, here you go." And that was that.
Wow. I wish I had cool
Yeah.
parents, friends that would do that.
Oh, but
Um,
I got in major trouble though when my mom discovered I had it, but I lied. And I was like, "Oh, well, my friend Jason's brother bought it for me." And she's like, "Well, he paid for it, so it's his, right? You need to give it back to him." I'm like, "Okay." And I didn't. But I was on restriction for that. And yeah, I got in a lot of
Gosh.
trouble because of Madonna. I had to like go through the erotica album and because she tried to take it away, and like had to explain each song, and some of it
Oh
I'd lie,
gosh.
and I'd be like, "Oh, well, it's about this and it's about that," and you know,
An
um,
analytical report on why you
yeah,
like it.
yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, well, deeper and deeper." I'm like, "That's actually a love song, Mom." It sounds bad, but I don't remember one of them when she's like, "Well, erotica." I'm like, "Okay, I'll give you that."
Yeah, it's so funny because when erotica came out, I don't think my mom even like knew about the video. Or I think she, of course, she knew about like the sex book, but the video only came on like like a few times, right? And then they never showed it again. And I was up and I recorded it because they didn't show it. I think it was either at 10 p.m. or like midnight or something when MTV premiered that video. And of
Yeah.
course, my mom was asleep, so I recorded it. Once it was recorded, it was mine. Like that
Yeah.
was my videotape. No one could record over it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like funny that my mom never caught on to that. She never really got on me about the album itself, which is funny because the titles are very suggestive, and I'm
Oh
sure,
yeah.
Madonna. It was a very conscious decision to put words like deeper and deeper and why is it so hard. Those titles are just very striking and have a very double meaning, especially coming from someone that is giving off this presentation of very sexual liberation.
Yeah.
Um, I would think my mom would have been a little bit more, had more scrutiny around that, but she didn't for some reason.
Yeah.
But she just didn't understand my infatuation with Madonna, and especially going into the whole erotica and girly show
Yeah.
era. She didn't understand any of it.
Oh God, it was bad enough during Blonde Ambition because
I know.
I was taping it on HBO and she was watching it with me, and Like a Virgin happened, and she looked at me and she said, "If she does anything else gross or inappropriate, I'm gonna rip that tape out of the VCR." And I'm like praying, I'm like, "Please, Madonna, don't do it." And then all of a sudden, you know, God, and then like a prayer, I'm like, "Oh, thank God, okay." And she toned it down slightly.
I know, right? Like luckily that was the worst of it, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but I'm trying to. My mom only came after me one other time after that, and I was very shocked because I was like 16, 17 years old when she did it, and it was with the Nine Inch Nails album. Um,
Oh, Downward
the Downward
Spiral.
Spiral. Yeah,
Yeah.
she just randomly decided to go through my room um, and look for things, and she found this album that had a parental advisory sticker on it, and I guess
Hmm.
she started reading it. And I came home one day, and she was sitting at the kitchen table with my stepdad with this album sitting on, and she's like, "I need you to explain this to me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm almost laughing at her because I'm like, what is this? It's just Nine Inch Nails. What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Close to God." She's like, "Read these lyrics. This is about Satan." And I'm like, what are you going on about, woman? Like, what is this?"
Yeah.
And I was also in a very, this kind of like your rebellious years
Hmm.
where I'm just like laughing at her. And she's like, "Well, I'm going to take this away from you." I'm like, "Okay, take it away." I said, "I could just go buy another one." And she goes, "How did you get this?" And I'm like, "I just walked into the store and bought it." Like they
Yeah.
did, like sometimes, they didn't even question it.
Oh,
Um,
that whole like carding people or like not letting them buy it till they're 18 was very short lived.
oh yeah. And plus I also was a member of Columbia House that she
Oh,
wrote the
yeah.
check for.
Oh,
So
Columbia
I was
House.
like, yeah, maybe it was BMG. I don't know. I was part of
I don't know.
many
I
of
feel
them.
like
Um,
everybody owes both of them so much money. That's probably why they
no,
went bankrupt.
yeah, but it was just
Because
crazy.
who actually paid them? I mean, I know I didn't. I used to get CDs. You sign up and you get that, and like, 10 CDs for a penny. It was like cool, and then I'd cancel it.
Yeah, I was kind of the good one. I did buy my required
Uh,
selections.
yeah.
I played by the rules for that one, but
Okay.
I because I did start doing the movie club because I was
Yeah.
VHS, and then when DVDs came out, I was all about, "Oh, can I convert my membership?" They're like, "No, you have to finish getting
Oh my God.
these 12 VHSs that we sell for $30." And I'm
Jesus.
like, Jesus. But I ended up still doing it.
I remember when DVD came out and I swore that I would never convert. I'm like, I just can't. This newfangled thing.
You were the old grumpy get off my
Yeah.
lawn man
Yeah.
before.
And and now everything's like streaming and there's nothing physical anymore. It's like, well,
I
okay.
know. I was
Where
I was adamant and for sure that we would have gotten Bond Ambition on DVD when DVD came out.
ugh,
I was
I
I
don't
was
think
certain. I was
I don't think
absolutely
we'll ever
certain
see
that would have
it.
happened.
I
Oh
don't think
no,
it's
it's
ever going to happen.
that ship is way sailed because they're not going to do that shit anymore.
I
I mean,
think she had some.
unfortunately, she would have to pass away, and I do not
Yeah,
want that to happen because,
yeah.
like, you've seen what has happened with like Prince's catalog.
Hmm.
Basically, Prince fans are getting their entire wish list. Prince is
Yeah,
rolling over in his grave, but Prince fans are getting their wish list. They're getting the DVDs, they're getting the Blu-rays, they're getting the special
right.
editions of all these albums. And I was like, I wish Madonna would do something like this, but she's not, and I just have to accept it.
Yeah. So that brings me to an interesting thing. So I'm weird about a lot of Madonna fans. I'm very selective about who I talk to because a lot of them I don't like because I feel like Madonna fans are, I mean, just fans in general, but a lot of them just bitch about everything. She can do nothing to please anybody.
Hmm.
It's like everything she releases was like, whoa, why didn't she do that? Or why didn't she choose this photographer? Or, oh my God. And it's like they tear everything apart. I'm like, do you like
Yeah.
anything about her?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was listening to your most recent episode, and you had
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
something about that, and you were mentioning something about other Madonna podcasts, and I was like, uh-oh, where's this going?
No,
Um,
I haven't listened to yours yet because I was like, well, I
oh,
want to talk first. I skimmed it and I like looked at, I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts and I don't know if that makes me a horrible person because I have one now, but I think I
mhm.
had one because I had a lot of things I wanted to say and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not really a lot of the Madonna podcasts I'm not really wild on. I mean, there are some, but I don't
Well,
know. I just
you don't have to name any in particular, but I
no.
will say you did mention something about being critical. I do tend to be critical, not critical in the sense that like, oh, I just want to trash everything that she does or nitpick everything she does. But there are some projects or some things that I'm not very fond of, and
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that
Oh
because I
yeah.
know that like listen, I've been a fan for you know pretty much my entire life. And you get to a point in life where you do become a little bit more you decide what you're objective about and what you're subjective about as you get older, I feel like, as an
Right.
adult. And you also come to the realization that Madonna is not for me, Madonna is not just this entity that I have previously just put on this highest pedestal of all and that she could do no wrong. I
Yeah.
have I have either brought her down or brought myself up to kind of just realize like, oh, she's a human being, she's making stuff, sometimes it appears that she is just doing it for a paycheck, sometimes it looks like she's doing it for artistic reasons, and
Right.
sometimes she looks like she's doing it because it's an obligation for contracts.
Right.
So I kind of I listen, I may come across as negative sometimes in my podcast, but I do try to break down some of the things that I see as an adult human being who
Yeah.
also is observing another adult human being making
Yeah.
a business decision
Oh
essentially,
yeah.
but with
Oh yeah.
art. Just kind of like listen, I'm a fan of Salvador Dali. I don't like all his paintings. There are some that I think are trash, and there's some that I think are the most beautiful ones that I've ever seen in the world.
Oh yeah.
Um, and the fact that I just have a platform and a podcast to talk about it just
Yeah.
makes it more seen by the world.
Yeah. And and like and it's not every single fan, but I've just that's I mean, I've been a fan since pretty much day one, and especially
Hmm.
since the internet happened. There is a very much a competitive thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
There are, the quote unquote the front row bitches or whatever. There's some people that I could deal without, and I think that karma kind of takes them out of the equation. Now
Listen,
I
I'm
won't.
only a front row bitch if I can afford it or if I get lucky enough to get it. Otherwise, I'm second tier, baby.
Yeah,
I'll sit in the
yeah,
mezzanine. I'll sit in the balcony if I have to. I
yeah.
don't want to, but
Right. Well, and I won't.
I'm saying that goes to the mentality of my fandom
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
It's not like I always feel like um, I have to I have the final word just because I can afford front row.
Yeah, there are some entitled fans, like,
Hmm.
one of them who happened to be in I'm going to tell you a secret, uh,
Did I
who
interview them?
I don't know.
I've
He
interviewed someone that was in
well,
what?
I know. Guy Ritchie interviewed him, or interviewed him.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, is that who you're referring to?
Probably. I did
Oh,
interview Willy Winker.
yeah, that's the one. No,
I did.
he's just his attitude is kind of poor, and I'm not wild about him. I know I'm trash talking, and then the Russian and the horse, as I like to call them, they've probably gone away. The scam artist who did
Oh,
that
that
like a prayer documentary.
documentary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, here's what I'll say about, different fans. I think, uh, I think I've gotten to a place in my life where it's just like, I'm not going to be able to change someone's mind about how they view things or how they view their own fandom or how they view Madonna in general, if we're just talking about
right.
Madonna, but this applies to
Yeah,
any artist.
yeah,
And I think that, there's just, I don't know what's going on in their life. I just know that this is probably one of the most important things that they probably take the most seriously. And
yeah,
in some ways, like I respect that. I can't change their mind about how they, and if they have like a very negative opinion about something, for me, I'm like, okay, well, you go over there and you have your negative opinion. I'm gonna go over here and kind of step away from that
yeah,
energy because I don't
yeah.
see that the same way you do.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to take that away from them because that's how they feel and
right.
they're entitled to their feelings and
Yeah,
everything. Um, but but then I'm like, well, when you're ready to like something or like the same things I do, let's get together and let's
yeah,
have a kiki about it. Let's talk about it. Let's
yeah,
chat about it. I'm not. I don't want to take away. Yeah, there are definitely some fans out there that like are so. Um, I'm trying to be diplomatic here because I'm not trying to offend. I don't want to offend anyone. I
no,
just
I
think
know
it's that I think
you're
some
trying to be
people.
Switzerland.
I just think some people take their fandom very seriously.
Oh yeah,
That and it's a level of seriousness that I don't get and I don't
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
And for me, it's really not up for me to say whether or not they're th- that they're right or they're wrong.
oh
I
yeah,
just know that I may not agree with them, and if I don't agree with them, I don't engage in conversation with them.
right,
And if I
yeah,
do agree with them, I'm hearting their messages, I'm sending them messages
yeah,
and agreeing with them and everything. And because I know that I have my own negative feelings sometimes with projects that she has. And
yeah,
I don't, for me personally, I don't necessarily feel like I need to vocalize them at all points of times, except on my podcast.
yeah. True.
But
Yeah,
it's a very thin line too, because you don't. Some of these people, like if you piss them off, you become public enemy number one for some reason. It's
oh well.
ridiculous. And I'm not
My,
saying that for anyone specific, but
yeah.
I've seen fandom out there get so bad
Mm-hmm.
that like they have like been blacklisted from Instagram channels and
Yeah,
blacklisted from well, and back in the day message boards. And it's just like
right.
why? What
Yeah,
there are more important things in life going on.
yeah.
Let's all take a breather here.
Yeah. I'm not even on any of the message boards. I don't, I mean, I used to, but I think my biggest problem, especially, was after she got sick, and a lot of people, yeah, fans, were saying that she
Hmm.
faked it. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, she owes us an apology. And I'm like, well, she'll get right on that and write you a nice note. Um,
Right.
they acted like she did this on purpose, or oh, she's not ready, or just like that's my biggest problem. It's like, how are you a fan if just everything is so volatile that comes out of your mouth? So, and
Right.
that's why I do. I only interact with people who are more positive, it's like, yeah, you can have opinions that are different about her, but it's
Hmm.
like, stuff like that, like her health and that situation, it's like, to have a little bit of respect.
Yeah, I did notice that that was happening when that happened. That people were just getting very, and again, I think it's just more of this panic that sets in where people are like, "Oh, I invested all this money. I have plane tickets. I have hotels booked." For me, I'm just like, listen, she's not going to do a show if she's sick. She's not going to do a show if she's in the hospital. She's not going to
Yeah,
do a show if she's on her deathbed. Like, take
yeah,
that's my kind of advice to some of these fans. It's like, take a minute, turn off your phones, shut down
mhm,
the internet
yeah,
for 8 hours at least, go do your job, come home, then check things. See what life is like after you've decompressed and
yeah,
unplugged for a minute. Because I think with the internet being at our fingertips every
mhm,
moment of the day, people are just so obsessed. And I fall victim to it too. It's like sometimes I'll just sit on the couch, even though there's like a laundry list of things that I need to get done. I'll just sit on the couch for like 4 hours and just, you know, turn into a zombie and just look at my phone, just see what's going
yeah,
on, fall into
yeah,
those black holes of political garbage that's happening. And um, I didn't necessarily do that with Madonna. I definitely wanted to know that she was okay. And I
yeah,
think when we started hearing from like Rosie O'Donnell and Guy Oseary that
mhm,
like she's good, she just needs this time to rest. I
right,
think when fans were just getting so impatient,
yeah,
it kind of just let me know, it's like, wow, there really are still some very supercharged fans out there that
yeah. Well,
that
and
see her as like just an entity and not as a human
yeah,
being.
and this has happened before. It happened on Rebel Heart. It happened in Madam X.
Hmm.
And it happens in a lot of shows, not even just Madonna, but it was like things change, things happen, people get sick, people get injured, things need to, you know,
Yep.
and it's just life. And that's why they have like insurance on things and, travel insurance and whatnot, and we had to change all of our stuff for Madam X and for Rebel Heart, and everything went well, but it's like,
Yeah.
that's just that can happen with anything.
It sucks, but it's life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it's just like then people start getting mad at her, and I'm like, there's no way she would do this on purpose just to piss
Right.
people off.
And I think that's
So
what I think just in general, people who maybe have not faced hardships, maybe they haven't experienced like death in the family or extreme sickness or
mhm.
loss of job or, you know, um, some sort of devastation that makes them realize that people are just human. And still I think there needs to be this can't think of the word here, but like this overlap with
Mhm.
celebrities too. Like, celebrities are people. They're,
Yeah.
they would they wake up with bad breath just like you.
Yeah.
They face these same things. They're just on a platform. They have a platform where a
Yeah.
camera's always on them. They have a platform where someone's always listening to them. They have a platform where someone's always going to like stab them in the back and go talk to tabloids and shit like that. So
Yeah.
they have a different level of life for sure, but
Yeah.
it's not like they're invincible. They're not
Yeah.
invincible. Like, regardless if they have the best doctors, if you're sick, you're sick.
Oh yeah. I think my job, I mean, well, it's on pause right now, but normally I work in the entertainment industry, and so I think that also helped. Um, I think Madonna's the only person I've met that I've been truly like speechless, and I didn't fall apart, but when I applied for my current job, or my regular job, they said, "Well, are you starstruck?" And I said, "Well, as long as it's not Madonna, I'm good," and that's true. I just she's got such a presence. It's hard to like. I mean, I know she's a real person, but it's still. But I think the job's been good for that because
Yeah,
I encounter so many people, and I'm just like, they're trying to get their job done. I'm trying to get my job done. We're just
yeah,
regular people, so let's do it. I'm sure
exactly.
if I wound up working with her, then it would be different. I don't think that would ever happen, but that would be amazing.
Yeah, and I think the difference with Madonna and people like Madonna that kind of have this superstar status is that because they know that someone's always watching, they're always on. They're,
Yeah,
we'll never see Madonna at her most vulnerable because she
yeah,
probably lets that happen very infrequently,
hmm,
and people like her. So yeah, I think it would be easy to get starstruck by her because
yeah.
when she approaches you, she will be Madonna,
Oh yeah,
the persona, the personification of
yeah,
this strong, independent businesswoman,
yeah.
singer, songstress, actress,
Hmm.
celebrity, superstar that's always
Yeah,
going to be in front of you. And for
yeah.
example, we just had well, our Pride ended up getting canceled because of rain, but some of the performers and MCs that we were supposed to have still came. Like we had Naisha Lopez and Silky Ganache from RuPaul's Drag Race that came,
Hmm.
and Danny Franzini. Is that how you pronounce his name? The one from Mean Girls.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know
he
how to
was
pronounce his name, but him, yeah, yeah,
he came and he was the MC at
yeah,
and he was at a club, and I just when he was outside smoking, I went outside and like chatted with him for a few minutes. It's like
yeah.
this is just another human being. Yeah, they're
Hmm.
the MC. Yeah, they are the celebrity guest here, but they're also just a regular person that needs to go outside and take a smoke break. So
Yeah,
I think once you get to that level of, you're not breaking down any sort of walls by um, becoming friends with. Oh, can you hear me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, my screen just went black for a minute.
Oh,
Um,
that's okay.
you're not necessarily breaking down any sort of walls by
Yeah,
becoming friends or friendly or having conversations with celebrities. You're just talking to them as another human being. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
there is that celebrity title attached to them
Hmm.
always, but they still want they want that connection. They still want human connection of people
Yeah,
just that want to like shoot the shit and just chat with them like about normal stuff and not
yeah.
about them being in a movie or having a
Oh, yeah,
record out. And that's the thing about like Madonna. Every time someone approaches her, they're always going to say something like, your music helped me, your music changed me, your movies or your tours or your performance. Like she's
yeah,
always going to have people that go up to her and say stuff like that. And
yeah,
that's why she doesn't really have that many close friends, is because there's not many people that are going to just be able to um, break that celebrity wall and just be
yeah,
able to be just kind of chatty friends with her.
yeah. I don't even think I said anything to her because I was like, there was a crowd of people, and I just reached over everybody and shook her hand, but I didn't say anything. She just thanked herself for coming, and it was like a 5 minute quick, like it happened so fast, and I was like, what the hell just happened?
That was the music promotion, right? Like you won
Yeah, it was Roseland
from
Ballroom.
MTV. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you get
Yeah,
to actually see the show?
yeah. And I just found a recording that somebody did that night, but I've never seen like an audio recording. I remember that night, but vaguely because like by the time we made it out to like it was general admission and we made it out
Hmm.
there, like I was like, I just met Madonna. And I was just like, what the
Yeah,
fuck just happened?
right.
So, so the show was weird because I was watching it, but I was also like in my head, and I was like, I can't believe that just happened.
Is
Um,
it? Do you ever think back like, oh, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have mentioned this or asked her this question or anything?
no, I think it was kind of perfect. I mean, we took the picture. She shook my hand. It was just she was very sweet. Uh, yeah, I don't know because I've heard so many. horror stories from some people because I know she can obviously be a bitch. I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
Um, but I just think it was kind of a perfect interaction, and I think if if I could go back, I would have, because they didn't allow us to get autographs.
Mm,
That's something I would have liked to have had, but I think it just all happened how it was supposed to.
yeah.
And it's still weird. Every time I'm just like, nobody wins MTV contests. It's not real. It's just, and somebody like Carrie, who I talked to the last one, she said that I should contact like Viacom and see about their archives, and they'll probably think I'm nuts. Like, so
No, well,
MTV in November 2000, and can you just pull the tape for me?
I mean, they have to have that footage just sitting somewhere. And honestly, if I think if you approach it from a standpoint of like, hey, I run a podcast called Tramadonna.
Madonna.
I
Thank you,
am
Ricky.
looking through everything that has ever impacted my life regarding Madonna. I did get to meet her. You guys videotaped it. Is there any way that I can get access to that archive tape? I don't
Yeah.
know. Worst case scenario, no, and you'll be in no different position than you are today. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think you should I think you should go for it.
Yeah. I'll try it. I don't. I mean, it's funny because it's like I don't know what footage they got and what they didn't because they seem to focus on like the really like uber like how do I say this without being horrible? Okay, the gayest Madonna fan ever. They filmed him, and he was just fabulous and wonderful and very fashion forward. And they just they followed him around all day, and then they barely even like interviewed us. And I was like, okay. Um,
Yeah.
so and I don't even know like what they filmed and what they didn't. I know they filmed when we were about to go across the street, and they're like, "Oh, would you rather meet her or be front row?" And it was like, meet her."
I would have said both, please. I was like,
Yeah,
you can get me into the well, I say that now as like a 45-year-old, but if what was this?
I
Uh
was 20,
20,
23, 22, I think. Yeah,
22. Yeah,
yeah,
20 at 22 of me, especially as introverted as I am at 22, I'd be like, okay, well, I'll do whatever you want. I probably would have
yeah,
been quiet too, and I'm not a strong personality in
yeah,
person. I'm very laid back and everything. So I
yeah,
can totally understand that. Yeah, that's how MTV is. They just want loud and crazy, and there
yeah.
are people that are willing to give it. And honestly, from what I remember, I don't, because I remember like I would record everything that came on MTV,
Hmm.
and I don't remember them showing anything about
Yeah.
that
It was
performance.
it was weird because like they had the commercial and the contest and
Hmm.
all that, and then all of a sudden there was like nothing, and I was like, huh, all right.
Yeah.
Um, because I know that the Brixton Academy, it was like MSN, they broadcasted, but I don't know.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything with Roseanne, which was quite. I think probably because of maybe contract with MSN,
Yeah.
um, with the whole like AOL MSN, because
Hmm.
wasn't that how you got Drown World tickets? Like you could sign up for AOL and
Oh
get
God,
tickets at the same time.
I don't even remember. That was so.
Yeah. I remember I
That,
signed up once and they ended up signing me up for four different accounts, which means
oh
they
my
were
God.
charging me four different times. But
Ugh.
I still only got one set of tickets.
Yeah.
So that was a mess that I had ended up clearing up with AOL.
Mm. Yeah, that was my first full show that I saw her because like the Roseanne Ballroom was the first time I actually saw her live, but then Drown World was the first like tour I saw.
Where did
Uh,
you see it at?
in Oakland, California.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I'm originally from California, but like even I remember Blonde Ambition. She was in Oakland during Mother's Day, and there was no way my mother would have even. And then
Yeah.
then the girly show came out, and I was like, I'm gonna go see that. And it's like, oh, it's not coming anywhere near here. Cool.
Yeah. Three cities in the US, right?
Hmm.
that she
Yeah.
performed. It was funny
Yep.
because that was the time when I was really getting into her, and my mom didn't understand it. My stepmom, while she didn't understand it, she was like, "Well, if you want to see her, I'll help you get tickets for DC." And this, she had just started her tour in London, but
Hmm.
we had no idea what the other tour date. And the way you found out was it was either in the paper or
Hmm.
they showed the dates on MTV.
Yep.
And at this point in time, we didn't know. So I literally called Maverick Records and asked for Madonna.
Oh my
So,
God.
at the on the back of the CDs, it has the address, and you could call 411
Yeah.
to get the number for an address. And so that's what I did. And they're like, "We'll connect you." And then they connected me, and then the person who answered the phone just kind of like scoffed at me, and they're like, What is this in regards to?" And I'm like, "This is in regards to her tour. Like, you'll need to talk to her publicist," and gave me Liz Rosenberg's number.
Oh my
And
God.
I proceeded to call Liz Rosenberg, who I didn't even know at the time. Like, I didn't know that was the
Yeah.
thing, like a publicist or whatever. So I called Liz Rosenberg and spoke to her. It was very
Wow.
like brash, very short with me, and very like, "What do you want to know?" And I was like, "I'm just trying to find out tour. Like, is she going to be at DC? We don't know any of that yet. Call me in a week." And
Oh my
I was
God.
like scared because she was like very intimidating.
Yeah.
And then I gave the number to my son, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, you just got to call this number in a week, and they'll tell you about it."
Oh my
Like it's
God.
some like hotline or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I think my stepmom ended up calling her as well and speaking to her, and I think they just didn't know. I think that tour specifically, it happened so late in the year where it was unplanned. So I
Yeah.
just think that like the bookings of venues just
Hmm.
weren't available because she performed in arenas here in the U.S. So it was, and she also was facing a lot of backlash in the
Oh
U.S.
yeah. That was
Um,
the biggest part because she,
yeah,
was all over elsewhere, but in America it was like, oh, well,
I'm not doing.
no.
I'm not buying tickets to her show. Like that's kind of how it felt. So she was
Yeah.
only playing. She played in Philadelphia,
New
weird,
York.
New York, and Detroit, her
Yep.
hometown, and that was
She's
it in
always
the
in
U.S.
Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think being able to book that late in the year, or being able to, she would have had to have booked these venues earlier, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't think they just knew what the tour was going to be or how it was going to be perceived, facing
Right.
all the backlash. So I think they just made a conscious decision to just take this international and not statewide,
Yeah.
um, which is very interesting. It just celebrated its 30th anniversary.
I know. I know. A certain podcast had a little reunion on there.
They did. Did you watch it?
No.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought about it, but I don't know. I what do I say and not get myself in trouble?
Well, you
The
don't
whole
have to say anything. You don't have
the
to
buying
say.
tickets and Patreon and all that. I mean, it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm doing this for fun, and I'm not monetizing anything. And I
right.
know some people are trying to, make a little extra coin, and I get it.
I wish I did try to monetize mine, only because last year I bought a new laptop, and then
Hmm.
I started just to try to. I had a new logo designed and try to like get T-shirts because I would send them off to some of guests that would be on my show. But since I wasn't trying to monetize it, you can't write it off in your
Uh,
taxes.
okay.
It's still considered a hobby. So what I would
Yeah.
say to you is, if you want to be able to write things off in your taxes depending on like what you might purchase to get
Hmm.
this podcast going, like on a larger scale,
Yeah.
um, you might want to find, and monetizing could just mean you upload it to YouTube and say that
Right.
you want to place ads on it, like,
Yeah.
and all you have to do is just prove that you are trying to monetize it, and then you can write off what you need to in your taxes for that
Yeah.
year.
We'll
which
see. I mean,
unfortunately I didn't do. So I
yeah.
still run mine as a hobby. It's still just a hobby for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's that. I mean, it's very kind of therapeutic, and I
Yeah.
love conversation anyway. But I feel like I get different things from different people, and
Hmm.
it always does come back to Madonna. But I was like, okay, since we're talking, that's our main, our
Yeah.
bread and butter. So it's easy, and I'm sorry for the people that are listening to this and going, when's it going to be something else? When are you going to change
Wait.
the subject?
Yeah, you guys. What's the focus of this conversation? And
I know.
I like that your format doesn't really have a focus on,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of pressure. When I'm doing my the last one I did was on hard candy and sticky and sweet tour. It's like, okay, well, I want to try to limit this to an hour
Hmm.
conversation, and it's very difficult to do because I tend to go off on many tangents,
Oh yeah.
which
Same.
always go back to Blonde Ambition tour, but in one form or another. But
Yeah.
it's like it's very difficult when you're trying to like produce something very specific
Yeah.
versus just kind of have free form thinking and just
Yeah.
off the cuff conversation.
Yeah. I think that's when the interesting stuff comes because it's like when you're trying to like force, and I'm not saying
Hmm.
that having a format is bad or anything, but it's just like for me, it's this is very organic, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I've had people that are like, "Oh, well, I don't really know a lot about Madonna." I'm like, "Well, it's not a Madonna podcast. It's just," and they're like, "What is it about?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Madonna.
it's no, it's
It's
about.
about
I mean,
Madonna, but it's not. It's
yeah,
about from what I've heard so far on your podcast, it's about kind of Madonna's impact on your life, and of course,
yeah.
your conversations don't even.
Uh-oh, did you time out again?
I think
Uh-oh.
so.
Oh,
Sorry.
there you go. Okay, that's fine.
What I was saying is, I don't think your conversation, from what I've heard, like your conversations don't necessarily start out with Madonna. Just Madonna
Yeah,
organically comes into the conversation, just
yeah. Well,
because she is a big part of your life. And
hmm, well, and the world too. It revolves around
yeah,
her.
oh my gosh, I just posted because this was not planned. I just randomly started watching Postcards from the Edge,
I love it.
and I had never seen the movie before, and I was like, I've never
Hmm.
seen this movie before. Let me just, it's only 90 minutes, let me just put it on and watch it. And then of
Hmm.
course Madonna comes into the conversation, and that
Yep.
just reminds me of like TV shows that would randomly mention Madonna, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
Golden Girls, Will and Grace,
Hmm.
um so many Saved by the Bell, like Madonna
Yeah.
came is referenced multiple times on there.
Yeah.
And then I randomly just started watching First Wives Club.
Hmm.
And what do I see? A little photograph of Madonna
Oh yeah.
on someone's I wasn't planning on that wasn't my goal to watch
Yeah.
these movies just to find a Madonna reference. It's just that just shows how ingrained in our social culture that she has
Hmm.
become, that she
Yeah.
needs to be referenced in so many movies and so many TV shows. You will
Hmm.
never find an artist like that. And I think that's what people don't realize, especially like younger generation, millennial and um, like millennial and Gen Z. Like they know who Madonna is, they know some of the songs that she's released, and they just see her as another artist. They're like, no, 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 she
Yeah.
had a lot to do with social culture. She was a
Hmm.
very big persona in social culture and what she did for that, because she stirred up so much conversation. She stirred up
Yeah.
a lot of controversy that made people see her
Yeah.
and make it, regardless if she was the butt of the joke or if it was to show how popular she was. She was, I remember, Who's the Boss? She was mentioned. I remember that as a child, like growing up, hearing Madonna's name. It's
Yeah.
just I just don't think people realize her
Yeah.
impact,
Hmm.
except us, Gen
I know.
Xers.
I know. And then, and then people, of course, they glaze over if they.
Yeah.
if they ask your opinion on her. There's a meme where it's something like Thanksgiving dinner, and it's like, uh, child, like, uncle, who's Madonna? And then me, it's like, clears, takes a deep breath. Well, it all started on August 16th. And the rest of the family's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much my upbringing. And it just happens. But I think Madonna kind of shaped my world. She was my first introduction to the gay community. She was the first person
Hmm.
that said it was okay and I wasn't a freak. And I had no clue because I was so naive and sheltered.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's why I think my mom didn't want me to like her and follow her because of her influence and because she was very pro gay and very, she was definitely not just an ally, but she was in the trenches and she was very outspoken about fighting for us and
Yeah.
equality.
Yeah. And, especially with the AIDS pandemic that was in the 80s, or
Hmm.
epidemic, um, she talked about how, she would just go to the bedsides of all these men and give them
Hmm.
hugs because
Yeah.
people were too afraid to touch them.
Yeah.
People were afraid to be in the same room with them.
Hmm.
And, of course, understandably, you don't know something about a disease. You want to take all the precautions necessary. But
Yeah.
she knew that this was being looked at as a gay disease and that she didn't want it. Well, and they're like, well, if it's a gay disease, then I guess I won't get it, right? Like, she didn't care. She put money up front. She put money from her concert sales, and she was really the only, there weren't very many people in support of AIDS in the gay community. It was her, Elizabeth Taylor, and then like Princess Diana. And it
Yeah.
was very few people, very few top level name celebrities that were speaking out against it. And meanwhile, the president at the time wouldn't even say the word.
Yeah. Nancy and Ronald turned their back on Rock Hudson when he needed.
Hmm.
Like Elizabeth Taylor and Madonna, they were making drug runs to Mexico to get the experimental HIV drugs that weren't
Yeah.
even allowed in the country yet.
Yeah. And
And then you
again,
have
I
people like Tammy Faye, who, she's, if anything, she's the epitome of a true Christian. I just remember when she had the man that had AIDS on her
hmm
show and how she was about that because so many people were so afraid, and when everybody figured out it wasn't just a gay thing, it
right.
just that changed it. And that was weird when the pandemic, when COVID happened, it was this eerie, like, oh, here we go again. And it was like, oh, straight people, this is what we went through.
Right.
Everybody was getting sick, everybody was dying, so it was just this weird, like, almost repeat.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so funny because you had this conversation on one of your previous episodes as well. Is like what it basically comes down to is,
I repeat
um,
myself a lot.
well, no,
No, but
I think
these things are
it
worth
goes
talking
to,
about multiple times, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it just comes down to strength and weakness, right? Like people don't want to admit they're gay because it means they're weak, which
Yeah.
then goes to, misogyny against women. Because
Hmm.
if you're seen as anything less than a strong man, you're nothing
Yeah.
but weak. Or people will like call you a girl or call you a sissy, as a bullying term, um, in a disparaging way. Where it's like, well, women are strong too.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what it eventually just comes down to is like, if I can prove it just comes down to Neanderthal fundamentals. If
Right.
you don't have the strength to beat me up, well, then you're just a weakling
Yeah.
and you're not worthy of any time. And I think that's what it comes down. And it was like that with COVID too. There was people that refused to get the vaccine, and then it was seen as being weak for getting the
Hmm.
vaccine. And there's these kind of quote unquote alpha males that now there was like websites and message boards dedicated to, um, even to the point of like sperm donors, where
Hmm.
I don't want a sperm donor that has gotten the COVID vaccine because that's a weak trait.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous
Yeah.
that people just can't exist and just flourish and be successful by being who they are, regardless if you're a flaming homosexual that says "Hey, girl, hey," or you know a man that plays football and can wrestle man's. It doesn't matter. They're both of value.
Yeah.
They both have successful traits. They're both important to somebody.
Yeah.
So why are we debating this? Like, why is this a political debate now all of a sudden? It's just so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And it's sad that and that's where I think like Madonna came into the world where that was still trying to be enforced in the 80s and 90s, and
Hmm.
started help breaking down those barriers. She was one of the pioneer, I feel, is one of the pioneers to do that.
Yeah.
um and of course, like, people, once they saw that Madonna was someone that could do it, they followed after her in her footsteps, um to kind of support that. So
Yeah.
I think anyone that comes, that has come after Madonna, regardless if we like them as artists or not, I think they're very important because they help support this this kind of liberal culture of being free and being who you are and being secure in who you are, and and feeling like you're valued.
Yeah.
Comes social. I say from a culturally social perspective with
Hmm.
Madonna, and anyone that has followed since. But now there's this kind of recoil from a lot of people in the world now that just want to try to start pitting people up against each other again,
Yeah.
and it's crazy.
It's the American way.
Uh, the capitalist way,
I
actually. I
know.
wouldn't even say
Yeah.
the American way.
Yeah.
Capitalist, like, as long as you're making more money than someone, that's
Yeah.
that's a that's an indicator of strength, right? And I'm using quote fingers when I say that.
Right.
Um, as long as you have more money or more strength or more weapons than someone, you're going to be the person that's always in power, and you're going to be the one that says what goes. So it just goes back to this whole like, um, royalty uh, ideology,
Hmm.
where the person in power is the person that has all the power, when that's not even what the American Constitution stands for.
Yeah.
I've
Well, and it's
derailed this conversation. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's fine. It's fine too because it's like it's one of those things like, well, what is power even, and what makes you have power? I think power. I think knowledge of power. I think status or weapons or any of that. I don't think that's powerful. I think that's cowardly,
Right.
especially if you're hiding behind a weapon or you're hiding behind um, some bullshit rhetoric
Money.
or
Yeah.
money.
Or
Yeah,
money. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I just think being smart enough to know better, that's super powerful. And a lot of
Right.
people don't.
Well, some
Common
people
sense
think they
isn't
are.
common.
Well, it's not. I think common sense is a very subjective term these days.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um, and I think it's, knowledge is power, but there's so much misinformation out there that people don't even know where to start anymore. So they just go with their kind of like biased views or how they were indoctrinated as they grew up. And I think even, me, I still suffer from some of that, from, you know, the men should only act a certain way,
yeah,
or even within the LGBTQIA plus community, there's, like, gay people that don't support trans people,
yeah,
and there's always going to be a subculture of misfit toys. There's always going to
yeah,
be minorities. There's going to be people that stand up for them, and then there's going to be people that want to just continue to keep them down so that they can stay afloat.
yeah. Well, that's why I didn't really want to come out when I did because I never felt like I fit in, and I had this preconceived notion of what it meant to be gay, and I thought I had to be a certain way, I had to look a certain way and be stereotypical. So, and then getting older, it's like, wow, it's like there's so many, gays are like snowflakes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and everybody else, not just gays. It's not just gays anymore.
Well, I know. I mean, it's all like the queer community. I like to consider myself more queer than I am gay, just because I think it's just
Yeah.
embracing that that you're different, regardless if
Well,
you're in the gay
yeah,
community or in the straight community. You just know that you're just a little bit more weird and
yeah,
different than other people, and you don't align to one belief more than the other.
right. And it's not just about your sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
but like I just the same as I have issues with some Madonna fans, I have issues with a lot of, gay men and people in the community.
Oh yeah.
Um, so and then I have issues with gay Madonna fans.
Yeah.
So
Same.
there you go.
Same.
Yeah.
It's
No,
full
I don't know.
circle.
It's just I what it all comes down to it is just like what you like, and if all you do is bitch about it, then you need to find another diva or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Or find something else in life.
Yeah, go
Do
follow
some
Taylor
yoga.
Swift.
Yeah,
Taylor
I'm not a
Swift is
huge
fine.
Taylor Swift is fine. I
Yeah,
will say this. I will not take away any of her success. She has
yeah,
done what she's done. I feel like she's earned her place for what she does.
yeah,
And I can't hate on her for that. I don't necessarily like all of her music. I like some songs,
yeah,
but I also feel like my mentality for that is the same mentality some people have for Madonna. So I
yeah,
have to be tolerant in all aspects. There are some artists that I genuinely just cannot stand, but I can't take away the fact that they have an impact on somebody else,
oh
you
yeah,
know? And I think especially some Madonna fans will get very defensive and start like attacking other artists or other fans of these
yeah,
other artists. And I'm just like,
yeah.
why? Why are you wasting your energy? Go listen to like a prayer or something. Like go, go do your eyebrows and or something.
Do something else.
Do something else. Like go complain about your fucking legislator or your governor. Stop
Yeah,
worrying about Taylor Swift fans. Stop worrying about
yeah,
Beyonce fans or Lady Gaga fans. Like go do your own
yeah.
thing.
I don't even want to talk about Lady Gaga fans because that's a whole nother.
Lord, yeah. I'm a
Eh,
I'm a Lady Gaga fan. I love Lady
well,
Gaga. I saw her last year.
there are some that are the little monsters is very appropriate, but I think that's the same in any fan group.
Yeah.
Like I've run across very awful Mariah Carey people and Taylor Swift
Mm-hmm.
people and Gaga people and Madonna people, and fandom can either bring out the best or the worst in you.
Yeah, and well, I think what people don't do, and maybe you might see this the same way, and I look for analogies in life. I look for parallels, and when I see people get so like, forgive the word, crazy like that, I'm
Hmm.
like, you're no different than those MAGA people. Like you're no different than like Trump supporters that are just trying to tell you that Trump is God and anything else that you like is trash. It's like
Right.
no different from that. And if what I have to look at is that I don't subscribe to the way MAGA people think, then I can't subscribe to that kind of thinking in any aspect of my life. I can't think of that with other fans of someone I don't like
Yeah.
or even an artist I don't like. There's no way I would ever campaign to shut down or cancel an artist unless they did something horrific to someone else of the human race. Like that's the
Yeah.
only way that I would ever do that.
Right.
And um that was just like a really extreme example. But to me, I like to think of myself as consistent. If I can't do it for this group, I'm not going to do it for this group.
Right.
Just because I think that's what's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, wild world. It is. It's almost like the Wild West sometimes.
It literally is.
And it's interesting being a fan from the very beginning till now, and how many times I've had to defend her and
Hmm.
answer questions like, "What happened to her face?" I'm like, "You wouldn't ask that if she were a man, so don't start that."
Yeah. Or like even so, it's like I I may have my own thoughts about it, but like I don't
Yeah,
need to pose that question to somebody else, right? Like it's
yeah,
like, listen, if she wants to put a titty on her forehead, let her. That's her
yeah,
life. She can do
yeah,
whatever she wants. If you know, I just I it all comes down to is like, listen, do whatever you want that makes you happy, that does not
yeah.
physically or mentally try to break someone else down or disparage somebody else. If someone
Right.
wants to do that with their life, if they want to cut off their arm to know what it's like to not have an arm, girl, go for it. Go listen, I'll get the hatchet. I'll buy the hatchet for you and you can and I'll even videotape it for you. But
Wow.
don't sorry. I have a dark side of humor.
Kid,
Um
it's fine. I'm just like, well, okay, well, we'll go there. You
well,
go,
listen, if
girl.
that's what if people want to live their life a certain way, let them live their life a certain way. But it's their life. It's not
Yeah,
mine. Go for
yeah,
it. But don't try to put that on me. Don't
yeah,
project your own negativity on me. Don't
yeah,
come to me asking me why she got butt implants. Don't come to me asking me what she did with her face. That's none of my business. That's
yeah.
hers. I'm
And
just there to support her because I still like her music. I still think she is
yeah,
probably one of the best performance artists that have ever
hmm,
lived,
yep,
and that's what I support. And
yep,
if that means whatever she wants to do with plastic surgery or needles or whatever it is she does, that's her business.
hmm. And her face looks fine once the puffiness goes down.
Yeah, of course.
Because sometimes it's got that pillow face, but it evens out.
It does. And,
Yeah,
for whenever it doesn't, she has her filters and her Photoshop that she likes to do.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
just roll with it. You'll enjoy
exactly.
life. You'll enjoy your own life better if you just roll with it and worry about your own life.
That's perfect. I think that's a really good way to end this. Is just
After we
roll with
talk
it.
about buying a hatchet and cutting arms off,
No,
yeah.
no. I mean, yeah, the hatchet. No, that I don't. I'm a Halloween gay and a Madonna gay and all that. So it's like I nothing can make me. It's not. I don't even blink at that. I'm like, sure, get an axe. That's fine. Like,
Well, it is
that doesn't
Halloween,
faze me.
so it, you should be allowed.
Exactly.
I'm not
But yeah,
encouraging anyone to go chop off their arm or anything, but if you want
no.
to,
Yeah, if that's your thing, just
I
as
will
long
sign
as
a
it's
waiver.
consensual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I've enjoyed this. It's been very pleasant. I think that people should, um, this is where I whore you out. You have your podcast. It's what, Get Together?
The Madonna Get Together. Yes.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
find it on all listening platforms. And I have an Instagram channel called Madonna Get Together as well.
Nice. Yeah. I'm not at the point where I feel like I want to have a video.
I
Maybe
sometimes I
someday.
think I will say that I find it helpful. I didn't do it my first season. I started doing it during my second season. And I think it just helps with the dynamic sometimes. Seeing
Yeah.
someone smile or
Yeah.
um, just seeing their face just adds that extra dynamic and can
Yeah.
sometimes make people feel a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes not.
I'm trying to decide how many episodes is like per season. I don't even know what's the standard because I think this is like 10.
You're at 10 already? I
Uh-huh.
don't even think I'm there, and I started at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I've been doing one each week because apparently I'm insane. Um, but no, it's been good and it's been very easy and um so I don't know, but I keep looking and when I upload it, it's like what season? I'm like, one, but I'm like, how many do I do?
Yeah, I usually do January through December as like 1 year, as
Yeah,
one season. But I would say like do whatever you feel comfortable for you. As long as you have something to talk about, you always have content. So
yeah,
yeah. And like I usually try to just put out one a month just
yeah,
because it's just a lot. It's a lot to do. And I do a lot of production because I do edit
yeah,
um some of my I have to edit conversations because I don't want to make it longer than an hour or an hour and a
yeah.
half. And
Right,
sometimes if I go out on tangents, I'll like, you know what? That's not important to this conversation. I'm gonna take this out. I'll
right.
include it like in a bonus episode or something. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think listen, sounds like you know what you're doing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. So I think
yeah.
you're on the right track,
It's
baby.
been good. I've enjoyed the response. I appreciate the listeners. I've had fun talking to different people and just getting different things from different people, and it's just nice not to have any certain formula.
Hmm.
I can
Yeah,
go off the cuff, so to speak.
yeah, and I will say whenever I've had episodes where I just have guests where I'm not talking specifically about a topic or the conversation does tend to be a little bit more organic and
Yeah,
easier, and it also becomes easier for me when because I do edit my podcast. It's easier to edit too because I end
yeah,
up not taking as much out.
yeah,
So I would say as long as you're able to have a conversation and keep it going, you're doing you're doing it.
yeah. My biggest fear is that I'm going to get somebody on here and we're just not going to be able to like say anything and just be like, okay, this is my unreleased episode.
Hey, I will say that that has happened sometimes for me.
Yeah.
That's why I do like to edit. But it's you'll know when it's time.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's until then, I'm just enjoying the ride.
Well, congrats. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast
you.
family, and
Well,
I
thanks
definitely
for
wish
being
you all the
on.
best. Yeah,
Yeah,
anytime.
maybe I'll be on your show someday. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, and just roll with it. That's what we're taking away. And chop
Yeah,
off
you
your
too.
arm.
All right. Have a good
Thank
one.
you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.